Hello, and welcome to the Pearson Airport Explorers Camp virtual camp. We are very happy that all of our explorers have joined us today. And I know I really look forward to each of these camps, and I hope our Explorer Club members do too. I'm really pleased to share with you that we have an extra special camp for everyone. We're going to take a trip to the zoo and meet some of the people and animals that live there. So for those of you who are first timers to the Airport Explorers Club and our camps, welcome. And we'll talk a little bit later about how you can become an official Airport Explorers Club member. I'll put up the website in a little bit in a minute, and so for those of you who are returning, welcome back. It's so nice to know that you're here. And before we get started to talk about some of the animals that work at the airport, I want to introduce myself. For those of you who've been joining us regularly, my name's Catherine. I'm the one on the top left. And I have the best job at the airport because what that means is that I get to meet with the people like you and the community and talk about all the great things that we do at Toronto Pearson. And this is my friend on the bottom right-hand corner here. Kathy, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Catherine. Hello, everybody. My name is Kathy, for those who don't know me, and I work at the GTA, and I have this amazing job, as Catherine said, and I get to work on fantastic projects such as this one, the Pearson Airport Explorers Club, and I get to talk with all the communities around the airport about all the great things that happen at Toronto Pearson. So welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I know. And I know a few of our friends are joining us as well. And we want to give a special shout out to our friend Michelle, who's helping us produce today's episode and all of our camps. So anyway,
she's fantastic.
I know, isn't she? She's so great. So explorers, we're going to leave this slide up for a little bit. Remember I was saying there's a way that you can become an official Airport Explorer member if you aren't already, and that's by visiting our website. So at the bottom, you can see our website. It's airportexplorer.club. And you can go there. There's so much cool stuff on that website. We have activities, we have videos. Ooh, we have something else that we're going to share later. And here's also our email address. It's trafficcontrol@airportexplorer.club. And the reason I'm asking you to write this stuff down is because at the end of our camp today, Kathy's going to, you do have an activity for us, don't you, Kathy?
I do. I always have a fantastic activity.
I know you do. And so, we ask our explorers, we're going to ask you who are attending our camps today to do this activity and send it to us because we've got some really cool surprises for you. So anyway, so here's what you would, if you submit your work, you would get. You could get a hat, an Explorers Club hat, or a puzzle, or a T-shirt. And then if you sign up to become an official Explorer Club member, we'll give you a card you can put up and put your name on and show your friends that you're an official Airport Explorer. And Kathy, I know that we've got a couple of extra special prizes today. Can you share that with our explorers?
Oh, yes. So today, Airport Explorers, if you submit your work, there's a chance for your name to be entered into a prize to win some delicious YYB's honey. It's our own honey from the airport, and a grand prize, a family pass for 4 to the Toronto Zoo. Yes, Explorers, I said 4 tickets to the Toronto Zoo and some delicious honey. For sure. So, Catherine, I'm not sure if you're still there, but if explorers submit their work by September 10th, they'll be entered into this draw to win some fantastic prizes. Well, it looks like Catherine might have gone somewhere, but so before we begin and I start the presentation, I'm going to let you know how today's camp is going to roll out. So first, as we did last month, we'll have a look at our Airport Explorers Club slideshow that I'm going to present that looks at the animals that can be found at the airport. Next, we'll visit the Toronto Zoo live and hear from some very special guests. And then we're going to answer some of the questions that were sent in by our Pearson Airport Explorer Club members that sent in from our last camp in July. Now, unfortunately, because we have so much to cover in our hour together, we won't be able to answer any of the great questions that you send us in today's chat box. But we promise to answer them in our upcoming camp in October. We're going to take a break in September because everybody's heading back to school. And if you send in your questions, you may have from today's camp or any questions that you want, additional questions you want the zoo to answer, send them in and we'll answer them for you. And then we're going to end our time together with my amazing activity for a chance to win some amazing prizes. So make sure you stay tuned to the very end to learn more.
For
so
sure.
Catherine, yeah, are we ready?
I'm back. Somehow my microphone got stuck. So that's great. No, I'm absolutely back. And you know what? I'm super excited about going to the zoo too. I haven't been to the Toronto Zoo for a long time. So explorers, grab your passports here. And Kathy's going to talk about some of the very special animals that work at Toronto Pearson. You ready, Kath?
I'm ready, super ready all the time. So airport explorers, you might be surprised to hear that the airports aren't just for people. That's right. There are animals at the airport too, not only as passengers, but as workers.
Yeah, I like seeing the animals at the airport when I go there. So let's check these out.
Yeah, they do play a very important role. So Toronto Pearson, as we know it, is a very busy place. Pilots, security dogs, security guard dogs, baggage handlers, even firefighters work at the airport. But they couldn't do their jobs without a little help from some animal pals. As you can see in this photo, we have dogs, birds, and even bees that have jobs to do at the airport. So look at that photo in the middle. I believe that's Ivan, Catherine. He looks very serious and very focused on his job.
He's one of he's one of the guys are the birds that keep our airport safe, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I was really surprised when I started working at the airport that we actually have bees and dogs. So this is I'm sure our explorers are going to be interested in learning more.
For sure. So airport explorers, did you know Toronto Pearson uses birds to keep the skies safe for planes? The airport is surrounded by fields and creeks, and wild animals and birds like ducks, turkey, geese, and foxes live there. So they can sometimes get lost and then they get in the way of planes or wander onto the runways. So to keep the airfield safe for planes, the airport uses big birds like falcons, hawks, and eagles to help scare away other animals to keep the runways clear.
Yeah, and it's also not just to keep the airfield safe for planes, but these birds also protect the other little birds too, right? Because we don't want them to get hit by planes. So
that's right.
Yeah.
They scare all the other small birds away, for sure.
Such a pretty bird.
Yes.
Oh, look at this one.
It is, he's looking right at you. So falcons, hawks, and eagles hunt fish and small birds and animals for food. That's why the airport uses them to scare other animals away, just like Catherine said. They are very strong and have sharp beaks and very sharp talons. Talons, that's the special word for claws on a meat-eating bird. Look at the talons on this bird, Catherine.
Yeah, they're big.
They're pretty big, so yeah. Big birds that hunt other animals are called raptors, just like the dinosaur or Toronto's basketball team. Pearson has 30 raptors helping keep the sky safe. Wow, that's a lot of raptors.
Yeah, this bird is really staring me down right now.
So move over cheetah because we have faster birds than cheetahs. Falcons are the fastest animals on Earth. They can fly up to 390 kilometers per hour. That's about 4 times as fast as your car on the highway. Wow, that's super fast.
Really?
There are about 40 different types of falcons. The most famous might be the peregrine falcon.
I'm so happy.
I'm
so happy.
Which is the fastest animal in the world. I know I pronounced that correctly this time. I'm always having a hard time with that word, but it's peregrine falcon. I practiced.
Yeah, we have a lot of those in our neighborhood too, where I live, and it's fun to watch them.
And look at the talons on them.
Yeah, bright yellow talons.
And big. So, explorers, I know you go to school, but we also have a school for birds. So the birds are trained from the time they're young to work at the airport. They work one-on-one with a human who is called their handler. If you look in this photo, he's the handler and Ivan is sitting on a very special glove. But it takes months to teach the birds to be calm, relaxed around humans. They also have to learn not to be afraid of the sound of airplanes. Just like with dogs, the handlers use treats to train them. But in this case, the treats are usually little pieces of meat. Wow. So you can see in this photo, the birds are taught to sit on a special, very thick leather glove worn by a handler. And they come back to the handler after they've done their job. So they fly away, they do their job, then they land on this glove and they get their very special treat.
I'm sure that they have to wear the gloves because those talons are really sharp and they don't want to scratch their handler's arm.
Wow, and look at the wingspan on Ivan.
Yeah.
It's really big. Oh,
no, he's a big bird.
He is. So from sun up to sundown, that means when the sun rises and when the sun sets. When it's time to work, the handlers drive out to the airfield, which is where the airplanes and the runways are, with the birds in a special SUV. That's a big vehicle. The handlers release them and let them fly out. So what they do is they roll down the window and they let the bird fly out. The bird works from 1 hour before sunrise until 1 hour after sunset. So they fly around they drive around the airfield, they lower the window, and then out goes the falcon or the hawk, and they do their jobs.
And it's a really cool thing too, Kathy?
What's so cool?
Have you seen that? And then the birds will fly right back into the car when they're done sometimes.
Because they know what they're going to get. They're going to get a special treat.
They're smart. They're very, very smart birds.
A little tip for explorers. The airport also sometimes uses dogs like the Portuguese water dog to scare away bigger birds like geese. Keep reading to learn more about how dogs work at the airport. So visit our website for sure.
Yeah, no, and see our I love the little safety vest that the dog wears, so we can see him and you can see like he's kind of like a security guard. He's making sure that everything's safe for the planes and for the animals that live around the airport.
For sure. So employees have to wear safety vests, and so do dogs because they need to be visible. For sure. So on the job, the falcons wear radio transmitters on their legs just in case they decide to fly away. It's but usually the birds are so well trained that they stay close to home, but it happens sometimes. Each bird at the airport has a very special name, like Juliet is one, Dante, love that, Ivan, and Flash. I wonder why he's called Flash, Catherine.
Maybe he has very, very bright wings or something, or
he's
feathers.
Super fast, I would think.
Yeah.
And when they aren't working, the falcons live together in a special building on the airport property. So you can see in this photo behind, they have their own little house that they sit in.
On our website, we do have a video with one of our bird handlers, but I mean, we're going to talk to the Toronto Zoo later on, so they're going to give us more information about the birds and other animals. But I think I've met Juliet. There was an interview on our website. Did we meet Juliet, that bird there?
I think we did. Ivan the eagle. No?
No, I think it was Juliet. But whatever.
Juliet. Oh, maybe Juliet the bird.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think we did. Yeah. That's right. So we talked about birds and now airport explorers. Birds aren't the only animals on the job at the airport. Toronto Pearson also has four-legged friends who help keep the airport safe. Woof, woof, as you can see in this photo. We have 6 dogs work for airport security, for example. They patrol around the airport and use their sense of smell to find dangerous items. Just like the birds, the dogs have handlers. These are the humans who take care of them and train them. And they have a very special relationship with the dog and give the dog commands. The dog usually lives at home with the handler. So as you can see in this photo, Catherine mentioned, everybody who works at the airport has a special vest or they have to wear. In this case, you can see it says security K9 because, he's a K9. So he's a working dog.
Yeah. I know. And it's kind of you can our explorers can tell the difference when they go to the airport between sort of dogs that aren't working by the vests that they wear. So pay attention to what Kathy's saying when you go on. So because I mean the dogs that have jobs have specific jobs, so you don't want to you don't want to interrupt them and take them away from their duties. And the other thing, Kathy's going to see that explorers, you see on the yellow thing that's on the handler's
The yellow ball?
belt. Yeah, you're going to tell them what that does afterwards. So but I just wanted the explorers to see that, so they know what we're going to be talking about in a second. So
For sure.
Here you go.
So dogs putting their noses to work, as you can see in this photo. Even more dogs work at the airport for Canadian Border Services Agency, the canines, and then we have these special dogs. These dogs are specially trained to sniff for dangerous and illegal items inside of luggage, such as drugs, weapons, or plants, meat, cheese. Even when you have too much money, they can sniff that out. So you might see them when you are going through security or arriving at Toronto Pearson. They even wear special uniforms, as we talked about. Their uniform's a little bit different, but everybody who works at the airport for safety are identified by uniforms for sure.
What kind of dog is that, Kathy? Do you know?
I think that's a beagle.
It is a beagle, and
He's
apparently, I met one of the beagles when I was at the airport, and apparently, they use beagles quite a bit because they have a really good sense of smell.
I believe so. Yeah, they have big noses probably, and their sense of smell is probably amazing. So like Catherine and I, because we work at the airport, we always have different tests to keep up with all the different changes. Dogs have tests too, airport explorers. Security dogs also go through special training. To make sure that dogs stay good at their jobs, they are tested by their handlers, which is the human who lives with them. And handlers will try to distract the dog or confuse them with different smells. If they pass the test and find the dangerous items, they get to play with a rubber toy. It's that rubber toy that Catherine pointed out, that yellow ball. So that's how they get rewarded. Unfortunately, even though our security dogs are very cute, you can't pet them while they are working.
No.
But don't worry, airport explorers, we're going to talk about other dogs that you can pet. But if it's a working dog, we prefer that you don't pet them.
Yeah, and you'll know that because, as we, Kathy was showing you before, they have special vests and they're either canines or they got the little, Canadian flag on them. So you will know that any dog that has a vest really is a working dog.
So, as I mentioned, there are other dogs that you can pet. They work for the St. John's Ambulance Therapy Dogs of Toronto Pearson, but we call them the Cuddle Brigade because you can cuddle with them. So good news, we have some furry employees at the airport that you can pet. And these dogs walk around the terminals at the airport to help people feel more relaxed before their flight. Because like me, I sometimes get nervous, and unlike the security dogs, their only job is to hang out with you and me, and if you're feeling nervous or anxious.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, see, they have like a little bibber on, and it says therapy dog. So but I guess a good rule of thumb though, Kathy, is you have a little dog, right?
I do. His name's Charlie. He's sleeping right beside me. He's my coworker.
Yeah, and the rule of thumb is explorers, like if you do see a dog, it's always kind of a good idea if you ask if you can pet them first, and that way so the dog gets used to, and they don't get scared. I really love this dog. I think we're going to meet some more of the little dogs that work at the airport now, aren't we, Kathy?
I think we're going to see what the team looks like for sure. Let's have a look.
Oh.
So here they are. Here are a few of our therapy dogs who work at Pearson. We have Cheyenne, we have Luna, Snickers, look at the tilt on the head, and of course we have Pumpkin. That's the dog that we saw in the previous photo. Absolutely adorable.
Yeah, they take a better portrait picture than I do, that's for sure. I like Luna just looks like that she got a haircut. It looks good.
And she looks like she's got some great teeth. Some chompers on her. Oh, here's a few more. They are pretty cute, eh, Catherine?
Oh my goodness.
Ghost. Ghost looks like he's paying attention to something. Daisy just looks adorable. We have Shep. He looks pretty serious, but he's got his tongue sticking out. And we have Zori. Zori is, I think, a golden retriever.
Yeah, I think so. I like Shep's eyebrows. I just love the way they tilt their head, and see, again, explorers, you can see the little bibbers on them, so you know that these are dogs that you can pet versus the ones that are wearing like the vest, the safety vests.
Maybe one day Charlie will work as a therapy dog.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Charlie would be, you know what? Charlie would be a really, really good therapy dog because he's so friendly and he's so cuddly.
Yes, he's very cuddly. So airport explorers, we talked about the birds, we talked about the dogs that work at the airport, but we now have bees. So you know that birds and dogs work at Pearson, but I'm not sure if you knew that bees work there too. Yes, we have a home of 24 hives of bees, and they're very important for the natural environment. They help plants and food to grow by taking pollen from plant to plant. So about 1/3 of the food we grow relies on these very important bees.
Yeah, I know that, for example, like pears need bees to pollinate them so the fruit grows on the pear trees, and same with pumpkins. So bees are very, very, very important to the environment, and I'm glad we have a whole bunch that live at our airport. How many do we have?
That's a great question. I believe we have about 1 million bees when
Yep.
it's like peak season.
Yeah.
But a really cool thing is, Catherine, did you know bees have 2 stomachs? One for eating and one for carrying nectar. Bees visit different flowers to collect nectar, the sweet stuff inside the flowers, and they buzz around and they bring the nectar back to their hives and fan the nectar with their wings to dry it out really fast. And the end result is a delicious honey that we can eat.
Mm.
A little tip for explorers, for those who don't know, an apiary is the name for a collection of beehives.
Now I know that bees need to do a lot of work to make that honey.
Oh, yes. So to make 1 pound of honey, bees have to visit about 2 million flowers.
2 million flowers.
For 1 pound of honey, that's a
That's
lot
a
of
lot
work.
of work.
In 2018, the bees of Pearson produced almost 2,000 pounds of honey.
Oh, wow.
I think Winnie the Pooh would be very excited and maybe a little bit jealous. And did you know, I don't know, this is important information or a cool fact, is the type of flower that the bees visit will change how the honey looks and tastes.
Yeah, I know. Because one time I talked to a beekeeper, and the beekeeper was the honey kind of looked purple, and it was because the beekeeper was saying that a lot of the flowers around where his bees were, gathering the nectar were purple, and so it kind of made the honey kind of purplish too. But oh my gosh, so I can't even do the math on 2,000 pounds of honey, and you have to visit 2 million flowers to make 1 pound. That would be like a quadrillion, gazillion flowers you'd have to visit. Those bees I would be so tired. So tired.
Yes. And airport explorers, if you're ever at the airport and there's the Etobicoke Creek, if you take that trail, you'll drive, or you're on your bike and you're riding by, if you stop, you'll see our apiary there. It's behind a fence, but you can check it out if you have time.
Mhm.
So now that we've learned about the birds that work there, the dogs, our therapy dogs, our safety dogs, we talked about the bees, we're ready to board. Now you know all about the different ways that animals work hard at Pearson, but there are a few other ways you might run into an animal at the airport. Animals can also travel on planes as pets or as cargo. Interesting facts.
Do you ever travel with Charlie?
No, I would love to. Maybe one day, maybe one day. Charlie would fit in one of these carrying cases, just like the little kitty cat. He's really tiny. Sometimes you can't just leave your furry pal at home when you go on a trip. That's why some airplanes let you bring your pet on board. Usually they have to stay in a carrier that fits under the seat in front of you. So if your pet is small enough and they fit in front of the seat, then they can travel with you on board. You'd have to check with the airlines what the restrictions are. But we have some really big dogs that are too big to fit in a regular airplane seat. And if your pet is too large to fly in the cabin, they can fly in the baggage hold, which is in the belly of the aircraft, but it's a special hold just for animals.
So they're comfortable and warm, and they're flying comfortably as the passengers are as well.
Yeah, you can think of it as in the lower cabin.
Yep.
So pets on board, sometimes you'll see a pet on an airplane that is not a carrier. And this is because the pet is a working animal that is helping its owner. For example, it might be a service animal that is helping its owner to see, just like in this photo. You could also be an emotional support animal, because sometimes you're allowed to bring those with you. And a support animal is a type of animal that helps its owner feel more relaxed.
Kind of like the kind of like the St. John therapy dogs. They make passengers feel relaxed. But just a tip again, Kathy, I'm just going to, we mentioned it again. So be careful. Try not to pet these animals that are service animals or any, as I said, the good rule of thumb is that you can see if they're wearing a special vest like this one, they need to concentrate on doing a job. Whereas the other ones with the little bibbers, you can pet them, but good rule of thumb is always ask the owner if you can, talk to their dog and pet them. So you don't want the dog to be afraid and get distracted.
For sure. And Catherine, if you had a therapy dog, what kind of dog or animal would that be?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, if I was taking a therapy animal on the trip with me, my goodness, I don't know. Maybe I'd bring a bunny, but I think a stuffed bunny would probably be best for me to travel with.
Yeah, sometimes therapy could be your stuffed animal. I would try to bring Charlie, but
Yeah, Charlie's, he'd be a good traveling companion.
I don't know if he'd like it, but I would like it.
Oh my God, flying lobsters, seriously?
Seriously, other animals might travel in the cargo hold with you when they're being shipped to another province, even to another country. For example, live animals like lobsters, eels, and earthworms travel in the bellies of airplanes. So a little tip for explorers, one of these things is not like the other. Lobsters and eels travel in airplanes to be eaten, but earthworms aren't eaten by people. They are used for fishing. So we have animals such as lobsters. They're not animals, but and they travel for food in the belly of the aircraft.
Yeah, and did you know that Canada's the biggest exporter? So that means we ship products over to other countries. So we're the biggest exporters of lobsters.
Delicious. I love lobster.
I don't love earthworms.
No.
Don't eat an earthworm. They're not very.
Yeah. But in 2013, we had a very special delivery. 2 pandas from China named Ershun and Dao Mao arrived in Canada at Pearson Airport to live at the Toronto Zoo for 5 years.
Oh.
And they rode in special containers inside a FedEx cargo plane. It was nicknamed the Panda Express, and it was even painted with a panda on the outside of the aircraft. The pandas were special because it was the first time Toronto had hosted pandas in 30 years. Even the Prime Minister came out to the airport to see them.
Look at him in his little cage there.
Yeah, he's in a cargo cage.
Oh yeah. Oh, that reminds me, we're going to the zoo soon.
Oh, I'm so excited. So horses could travel by airplane too. So horses compete in races all over the world. That means they sometimes have to take an airplane, just like you and I when we want to travel far. That's right. Along with people, dogs, and cats, Pearson Airport sometimes has horse passengers, just like in this photo. And this cargo plane is designed to hold horses. They're in their little cage and the little stalls. Horses fly in special boxes inside of a cargo plane. The plane is kept warm enough so they are comfortable inside the box. They have straw, food, and water. Some big cargo planes can carry as many as 85 horses at one time. Wow, that's a lot of horses.
That's horsepower.
That's horsepower.
Hey, I have an interesting fact for you, Kathy.
Oh, what is it? I love.
Okay, so do you know the difference, how you can tell the difference between a cargo plane and a passenger plane?
Well, I know there are no seats in this plane. They've all been removed.
And look, no windows.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So our explorers.
That's how you tell the difference between a passenger plane with windows versus a cargo plane, no windows.
Yeah. So if our explorers hear a plane sometimes and they look and they go, geez, that plane's doesn't have any windows. It's a cargo plane. But
that's
I mean,
a cool tip, Catherine.
Yeah, it is a cool tip. And but a lot of cargo comes on in passenger planes too. In fact, a lot of cargo comes in passenger planes.
In the belly of the aircraft.
Yep. Underneath there, yeah, that's true.
So airport explorers, were you surprised to learn that the airport isn't just for people? From security dogs to helper bees to visiting pandas, we work hard at Pearson to make sure that every living thing traveling through the airport stays safe. Pretty cool. So what did you learn, airport explorers? And are you ready to check out more cool airport stuff?
Yeah.
How about a visit?
Hold on a second, though, but I just want to let our airport explorers know that if they want to watch this again, we're recording today's show. We record all our camps. And so if they wanted to go over and look at this again and also look at, and share it with their friends, because we're going to go over to the zoo in just a second. So at the end of their camp, when Kathy gives us your activity, stay on because you could win a prize for doing this activity. We'll also put up our website address again, and that way you can find this recording tomorrow. So, oh my gosh, Kathy, are you ready to go to the Toronto Zoo?
I'm excited. Even when we started this presentation, I couldn't wait.
I know I haven't been to the zoo for the longest time. So we're going to head to the Toronto Zoo and we're going to meet some of our zookeeping friends who have a surprise for us, and they're going to introduce us to some of the animals that work there. So I'm just wondering, Michelle, are we ready to go to the zoo? And I'm really looking forward to learning some more stuff.
We are ready to go.
Oh my goodness. Oh, look at the two pandas up there. Look at to the left, Kathy, on top of the zoo there. They're the two pandas. Those, I wonder if those are the two pandas that we that came to Canada on that funny Panda Express there.
I think they are.
Yeah. You see, what else do you see there?
I see a polar bear on the bottom right. The door, it looks like the entrance.
Yeah.
I
see a peacock.
Oh, good eye, Catherine. Good eye.
Yeah.
I didn't see the peacock. Wow, good eye. I also see, is that a tiger?
Yeah, it looks like a tiger. So those are just some of the animals that that live at the zoo, but I don't think we're going to see any tigers today. I think we're going to see, I don't know what we're going to see.
Okay, let's go then.
Oh, hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, welcome.
And welcome to your Toronto Zoo, where it's our mission to connect people, animals, and conservation science to fight extinction. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Becca, and this is Mandy, and also joined by Zaya, the falcon, but we're going to talk a lot about her later. We're in the back of our Outreach and Discovery Department. Now, when COVID is not a thing, we are in charge of putting on birds of prey demonstrations and our bird of prey live shows. So when you come to the zoo, you can come see our amazing animals perform their natural behaviors in front of huge groups of people, which we love to do. But that means we're always working with birds of prey like Zaya, like raptors. Now, we got your whole list of questions, and we're going to try and cover them all in the time we have today. So Zaya is a bird of prey. She is a raptor. That's the definition of raptor, bird of prey. And for birds of prey, there are 3 characteristics that set birds of prey apart from other species of birds. Now, the first one is that they have incredible vision, binocular vision. I have a few things with me. This is the skull of a bald eagle. So they use bald eagles at the airport. We also use them here at the zoo. But if I hold it up close to the camera, first you can see how amazing that beak is. But you look at the size of the eye compared to the rest of the skull. Their eyes take up so much room in their skulls. Their eyes are actually fixed in one position. They can't move their eyes side to side, and that's why birds have to be able to turn their heads so far back and forth, right to left, because their eyesight is so incredible. They can see about 6 to 8 times better than we can. So to put that in perspective, if there's a mouse on one side of a football field and we're on the other side, we can't see that mouse. But birds of prey, falcons like Zaya, they could count the whiskers on that mouse. Their eyesight is that impressive. So that's the first characteristic. The second one is birds of prey will catch things with their feet. Now, I also have the talon of a bald eagle. So look at how big that is compared to my hand. So they catch things with their feet. They catch their food, their prey with their feet. That's pretty incredible. It looks like a dinosaur claw.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's huge.
Oh. And then the third and final factor that separates a bird of prey from other birds is that they eat. What do they eat, Mandy?
They eat other animals. They are carnivores. So we're going to talk a little bit about Zaya here. Zaya is a type of bird of prey called an falcon. So falcons are birds of prey that specialize in one type of other animal that they like to eat. They like to eat other birds. And so they have to be very good at flying and catching birds right out of the air. So they have a few things that help them to do that. The first is their stripes on their face. So you can see under Zaya's eyes, she's got those beautiful black stripes. And it's kind of similar to a football player when they put black stripes under their eyes when they play football. It helps to absorb the sunlight, and that helps them to see a little bit better when it's really bright and sunny up in the sky. Can you imagine being all the way up there without any sunglasses on? You wouldn't be able to see anything.
I can barely use sunglasses today.
I know. But falcons can see pretty well just with those dark eye stripes, and they also have a bit of a bony ridge over their eyes, and that kind of acts like a little bit like a hat that helps to shield their eyes as well. And then the next thing that helps them to catch their food in the air is their feet. So we showed you a bald eagle talon. It was huge. Now Zaya's talons are not quite as big, but they are just as sharp. So those are super sharp. And her toes are very long. And so those long toes help them to grab onto birds in the air and hold on to them so that they don't drop them, because those pigeons and other birds can be pretty slippery. And the next thing that helps them to catch those birds in the air is their beak. So we showed you the bald eagle skull had that huge beak on it and that really, really sharp part on the end. But what makes falcons kind of special is they have an extra little notch on their beak. So Zaya is quite gentle, but she actually has a little notch on the side of her beak. The side of her beak kind of goes up and down, and that is called a tomial tooth. And that is something that falcons have. So a peregrine falcon would have that as well. And that tomial tooth helps them to kill their prey in the air. So it kind of helps them to snap the bird's neck real quick so that it happens pretty fast. They don't feel too much. It's all pretty sudden. But that's another thing that helps them to specialize in hunting other birds. Now, Haplomado falcons are from the southern United States. So she's a little bit smaller than a bird or a falcon that would live a little bit further north. And one of the really neat things about them is they like to sometimes follow other animals like maned wolves when they're hunting. And what happens is when the wolves run through the shrubs or the brush, it scares birds up into the air, and they use that opportunity to grab those birds right out of the air. So they're kind of working together with other animals as well. But birds of prey are actually really important for the environment. They help to keep other pest control, pest species down, so things like mice and rats they eat a lot of. But Becca can actually tell us a little bit more about why birds of prey are so important, not just for the environment, but also for places like the airport.
Yeah, so that was your second question, is why are birds of prey so important? So Mandy definitely touched on, in the natural world, birds of prey are perfect at pest control. They eat a lot of rodents like mice and rats. And even though I think mice and rats are very cute, they're also really gross. They pee and run at the same time. We don't want them in our houses. We don't want them in our kitchens. And they breed quite frequently, so there's a lot of babies all the time. So birds of prey like Zaya and hawks and other falcons help keep those pest numbers in check. So they actually keep environments clean and healthy. But I'm sure you learned about the airport today and why birds are there. So large flocks of birds and large birds like Canada geese and seagulls who might like to hang out on the runway, and they like hanging around where there's lots of people because we usually litter and there's lots of food around. So the airport is a big place where other birds will hang out. But birds of prey are great because naturally, they are a predator species, and other birds recognize this. So if a falconer lets their hawk or falcon go, immediately seagulls and geese want to take off. They don't want to be anywhere nearby a bird of prey, especially if they fly something as large as a bald eagle. Those birds tend to scatter. And that way, it's also a really nice way of pest control at the airport because we're not really hurting the seagulls or the geese or other problem birds that might end up in engines by accident, or they might impede runways or the vision of pilots that can cause a lot of trouble there. Yeah, but also what were you going to say?
Oh, yeah, I think we're just going to talk a little bit about just how well trained those birds are at the airport. And you guys might be wondering, why don't they just catch one of those geese or catch one of those seagulls and just fly away and just go live their life at the airport? And why don't they fly away? Why don't they come back? And that's because these birds are specialized, and they are very, very well trained. So Zaya here is trained to fly outside without a leash or anything on her, and she comes back to us. And so Becca, I think, has something to show us just how we get those birds back at the end of the day.
Yeah, so training with these guys is all about positive reinforcement, which means when they do a behavior that we want, we give them as many treats, as many rewards as they could possibly have. And that way they kind of make the connection, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get a good snack. So we teach them right away that the food is going to come from us. And if you look back at Zaya over here, Mandy's using this leather glove to hold her. It's called a gauntlet. So she has a smaller glove because Zaya is a smaller bird of prey. But if you're going to work with a larger bird, like an eagle, you're going to wear something like this. So it covers your whole hand to protect your hand from those talons. But this is also step one. You're going to teach the bird the glove is a safe spot to come to when you're wearing it. You want them to come back to you, and you're going to give them a lot of food from the glove for step one. And once they kind of realize that, that's when we can start teaching them to fly. And we use lures here at the Toronto Zoo, which actually just represents a fake bird. So we'll swing this back and forth, and our birds recognize that this is a lure, and they think that it's a bird, and they just naturally want to come after it. They think it's a natural prey species. And when they catch it, we actually put a piece of food on it right away. They catch the lure, they get a snack, and then they see us right there with the glove, and they think, oh, these are all great things, all happy things that they want to go to. And then, so when a falconer at the airport lets their birds go, they fly off, scare away the problem birds like seagulls and geese, and then they usually give them a sign to come back, a signal that they've done their job, and we teach them that it's a whistle. So 3 sharp blows of a whistle will tell the bird of prey that I've done my job, it's time to go back home. So positive reinforcement is a big part of it. Another part of it, though, is weight management. So we want to make sure our birds are a good, healthy weight all the time. But again, we use food for the reinforcement. We use food to tell them to come back for us. So if a bird is a little bit too chunky, a little bit too high in weight, you know what? Maybe they don't want to listen to us all the time. Zaya here, she weighs less than 400 grams, so she's not even a pound. Bald eagles, they only weigh about 10 pounds at the head, like at heavy weights. So birds are a lot lighter than we think, and even just a little bit of increase can really drastically impact their behavior. Zaya here, if we give her food pieces that are too big, and if she was a little bit too high in weight, she'll actually take that piece of food and she'll fly into a tree, and then she'll eat it, and then when she's ready to come back, that's when she comes back. So we have to make sure we keep her food pieces nice and small. But on the other side of that, we never want our birds to be too low in weight. We never want them to be unhealthy. So we're constantly making sure we touch her keel. So that's where all of her muscles are. And that's how we can kind of tell that she's nice and healthy and she has enough weight on her. And we also weigh them every single day, every single morning. So we're constantly monitoring their weight to make sure they're getting enough food too.
That's right. Now, we also like to weigh out their food every day so we know how much they're getting, which brings us to our next question. What are their favorite foods? So it depends on the animal. Animals like our bald eagles really like things like fish because that's what they're naturally going to be eating in the wild. Because Zaya here is a falcon, she likes to eat birds. So her favorite foods are probably things like quail or chicken, but she also gets a little bit of mouse every day as well. But again, all birds of prey are carnivores. So they like to eat other animals. Their favorite food is meat, but what type of meat they like kind of depends on the type of bird it is.
Yeah, falcons love to eat other birds. That's why falcons are so good at flying. I don't know if anyone at home knows what the fastest animal in the world is. It's not the cheetah. So the cheetah is the fastest recorded land animal. So next time you come to the zoo, make sure you check out our cheetahs doing our lure run. They're awesome. But the fastest animal on earth is the peregrine falcon. So a cousin of Zaya, the Aplomado falcon, but they have to be fast because they love catching other birds. So peregrine falcons can dive at a speed of 320 kilometers an hour.
That's crazy.
That's 3 times faster than your parrot should be driving on the highway. They are that hopefully. So they are incredible flyers, and scientists actually study falcons to learn how to fly. So her nostrils and other birds of prey nostrils, other falcons' nostrils, they're called tubercles, a very fancy word. And this just helps the airflow when they are flying so fast. And scientists actually took that design, and that's how they designed jet engines from the design of a falcon's nostrils. So they have a lot of connections to the airport, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's amazing. Now, you guys might be thinking birds of prey are so cool. Birds in general are really cool. Where did they come from? What did they evolve from? And I have something really amazing to tell you guys. They actually evolved from dinosaurs. So birds of prey, and actually birds in general, are actually living dinosaurs. They're the descendants of dinosaurs, specifically a type of dinosaur called the Archaeopteryx.
Yeah, so the Archaeopteryx was a fossil found in the 1860s, and it kind of blew scientists' minds because it had feathers. And they're like, why does this dinosaur have feathers? Well, since then, it's been the link between reptiles and birds, because like birds, its bones were kind of hollow and it had feathers, but like a reptile, it had teeth in its beak and it had a long tail. So this is kind of the direct link between birds of prey, sorry, birds in general, and between reptiles. So Archaeopteryx was that first fossil. But since then, they've discovered a lot of dinosaur fossils that have different feathers and have different plumages.
That's amazing.
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading my notes because I forgot what the dinosaurs were called. But theropods are very small carnivorous dinosaurs, and they were all covered in feathers. So since then, they've made the connection that these guys are little dinosaurs.
That's crazy.
And I mean, like, look at her little dinosaur feet. They're so cool. And again, if you look at this, like if I didn't tell you this was a bald eagle talon, I could have just told you it was a dinosaur claw and you probably would have believed me.
Yeah.
So, and then it's funny when we watch our bald eagles walk around on the ground, it's like, that's what a T-Rex looks like that's walking on the ground.
Yeah. So birds are kind of just like living dinosaurs. That's really amazing. And it makes me love birds even more.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys love learning about the birds of prey here at the zoo, as well as how important they are to places like the airport and everything.
Yeah.
And thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. It was great to see you guys today.
And hopefully one day in the future, you guys can come here and see our birds in person and we can put on a bird show for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was so exciting. Kathy, I just learned a whole bunch of things. Like, I did not know that birds were evolved from dinosaurs. That's really, really interesting.
Yes.
And I didn't know that eagles had binocular vision. And that the nice thing is I also learned that now that I know what a gauntlet is. So that's the glove that the birds land on.
Amazing. I learned so much. Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea too about the dinosaurs. Oh my goodness.
We should go to the zoo sometime this fall. Would you and meet our new friends? What do you think?
For sure. I think so too. I think Michelle, our producer, wants to go too, for sure.
Oh, and I also have I'm not going to tell the explorers. I'm not going to tell them until the end of the camp because I want them to stay on. So, Kathy, I know our explorers sent in. I hope you had a great time. And and I'm looking forward to learning who's going to be the lucky explorer who might win a family pass to the zoo. So here we go. Now, Kathy, I know some of our explorers sent in some interesting questions from our last camp. So can we share them?
We sure can. Are you ready to answer some questions, Catherine? I know you've been attending all these camps. I'm going to test your knowledge a little bit.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I did. I studied too a little bit for this.
Pearson Explorers, here are a few of the questions that came in, and they're all fantastic. Here's our first question.
Okay.
Is it true that explorers can now play trivia online on our website?
Yeah, they can. That's a great question because you know what, Kathy, we just created this new trivia section on our website, so that's why it's kind of fun to go and check our website and see what's new. So we're going to be updating questions every 2 weeks, so you can check in and challenge yourself, your family, your friends. And check your knowledge on what you know about airports and Toronto Pearson. So that was an easy question. So what's the next question?
Well, explorers, thanks for noticing. So it's great.
Yeah.
Second question. Can you tell our explorers some really cool things about Pearson Airport? That's a great question.
Yeah, and I really don't know where to start because there are so many cool things. And we learned today, we've got birds and bees and dogs that work there. But okay, here's a good one. Toronto Pearson is about the size of a small city. So it's about the size of Orangeville, which is north of Toronto. I don't know if our explorers know that, but so it's 19 square kilometers. And that's 14 times bigger than Canada's Wonderland. So it's pretty big. And you can see what it looks like here on the top right-hand side of our frame here. You can see the sides. There's all the, the runways and it's a really, really big spot. And we also have 24,000 parking spaces. So a lot of room for passengers when they're going on their trip. They can park their car there. We have 3 fire stations. Safety is very, very important at Toronto Pearson, and we have 3 fire stations that will respond to most types of emergencies. We have 88 firefighters who work at the airport, and at least at one time we have 17 firefighters are there on a shift. So you can see on the bottom left-hand side, you can see some of our fancy trucks that come in and you know, are at the airport. And the other thing is because I was saying Toronto Pearson it's a big place. We have 2 terminals, and in those terminals we have 773 elevators, escalators, and moving walkways to keep passengers and employees. They help them travel because that's a lot of walking to do. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you mean 373 or 733?
No, 373.
Wow.
And so,
okay.
and because that's the other thing is that you know, Toronto Pearson, because we have all this space and it's about the size of a small city, we have a lot of people who work at Toronto Pearson to make sure that everything's running smoothly and safely for our passengers and employees. So yeah, it's like running a small city.
Oh, cool. Those are some cool facts for sure. So one final question. This is a really good one, and I think you know this one. How old is the airport?
Well, that's a great question. And I mean, it's older than I am. It's older than you are. Do you know that Toronto Pearson is 83 years old? So you can see at the bottom right-hand side here, this is what the airport looked like in 1938 when it first opened. But it wasn't called Toronto Pearson then, it was called Malton because the town around the airport was called Malton at that time. And we learned this last week at our last camp that many airports before they were airports were farmers' fields. So you can see in this picture, like there's no houses or anything around that. But as the cities got bigger, and because there are more as the airport got bigger, there of course we needed people to work at the airport, so jobs were created, and as more people started working around the airport, the city kind of grew around the airport, right? So that's a good fact to know. So yeah.
Wow, you're super knowledgeable. You must be attending all these camps.
Well, and I was studying before this, so
Okay,
yeah. So thanks, explorers. Thank you for those great questions. And remember, if you have any, we always learn something new when you send in your questions. So if you have any questions about today's camp or any questions that we can maybe go to talk to our friends at the zoo about and get your answers, make sure that you send them in to us, and we'll answer your questions in our next camp in October. But before we move on to my favorite part of the camp, which is activity time, we have a fun activity, don't we, Kathy?
My activities are always fun.
I know they are. I know you put a lot of thought into them, but I wanted to thank our explorers for sending in their work last week. So we received so many great submissions, and we know a lot of our explorers put great thought into their assignments. So we want to thank, you could see, look at this, Donald and Emma, they created it looks like an airport, and there's hangars and there's waiting areas. And then we've got Kelly and Chloe and Kathy. Kathy, is that from you? Did you do that one on the left, or is that a different?
No, that's a different Kathy.
Okay. And Julie and Livia, they did the airport aviation alphabet. So that, look at how, it's so neat. And they were very, very careful, and they got all the answers right. And look at Art, he created a beautiful airport as well. So you can see sort of the aprons and beautiful airplanes. So thank you, explorers, for sending in your work, and your names will be put into for a draw for the special prizes. So explorers, if you didn't complete last week's assignment, you still have a chance to send it in to our email address, but I'll put that up later. So don't worry, you got lots of time. Kathy, so let's go and look at our activity, and what are we doing today?
Okay, So explorers, before we get to today's activity called Let Your Imagination Take Flight, I want to tell you guys where you can find this activity on our website. It's under the section called Draw, Write, Make, and Unscramble, just like you see in the right there with all the kids. You'll look for that, and then you'll look for Imagine That. So you click on Imagine That, and then you'll see our activity and look for the activity called Let Your Imagination Take Flight.
Yeah, so I mean, so two things. Explorers, you can go to our website and download the activity, or you can also just watch this presentation again tomorrow when we put it up on the website. So here we go. Let's see what Kathy's got.
Okay. So we're going to write a short story about one of the animals that work at the airport or live at the zoo, because we did have a very special visit to the zoo today and they were so amazing. You can also pretend you are one of the animals and write your story from the point of view, from that point of view. We want you to use your imagination, have fun, and be creative, because all my activities is for you to have fun and use your imagination.
Yeah, and if our explorers they can also write a story. They can draw a story for us as well. So I'm just thinking, I wonder what Ivan's thinking if he was writing a story. I think in his thought bubble it'd be once upon a
I know what he's thinking. I know what he's thinking, Catherine. He's thinking, I met K squared, because you know your name is Catherine and I'm Kathy, so we're known as K squared. So maybe he's thinking a day in the life of K squared.
It's going to be a very funny story.
Yeah, I think so too. So here are some ideas to get you started, airport explorers. You could pretend that you are work as a bird handler. One day you discover the birds can speak. What do they say?
Wow.
Or pretend that you are hiking in the forest and you see a bald eagle that has been injured. You're a few hours away from help. What do you do? Or pretend that you are a baby falcon, a little falcon that is learning how to work with humans for the first time. What is it like for that little baby falcon? What's it like for you? Or these are just suggestions, but pretend that you are a bird and you can fly anywhere you want in the world. Where do you go? What do you see?
Those are those are pretty good ideas to get started. So yeah.
Or airport explorers, or you can create your own ideas. These are just suggestions.
Yeah,
Have fun.
Good. Yeah, they're good suggestions, Kathy.
So to begin to write your short story, we're going to have part 1, which is do some research. Always do some research to find some more facts that will help you with your story. Here are some suggestions again to help you out. Learn something more about the animal you will be writing about. How long do they live? How big do they get? Where do they usually live? What is a fact about this animal that surprised you? Maybe you heard something today that the Toronto Zoo talked about. Maybe you learned something today with your research about where Catherine and I are talking to you about. So, do some research. That's part 1. Let's see what part 2 is.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. A good story would be, what about this, like Ivan the eagle was flying around and he found some dinosaur bones, and then he realized that those dinosaur bones belonged to his great uncle or something like that, because birds evolved from dinosaurs, right?
Or maybe you could be a lobster and you're a pilot lobster and you're flying all over and you're just exploring the world.
I'm really looking forward to seeing these stories from our explorers. They always have some really, really good ideas.
So part 2, explorers, is create an outline using the 5-point story arc to tell your story. I know you guys learned this in school, so I'm just going to quickly go over it. 1 is the exposition. So here's where you are here's where we are introduced, or your characters introduced to the story. They learn who they are and what they do. And the second part is the rising action. This is the section where they are a problem or complications, and there's a struggle with your character that they face. What are they? 3 is the important part of the story. It's the climax. Here's the part of the story when the problem becomes worse and sometimes characters need to make a choice. What's going on? What's happening? It's the climax. And of course, then there's the 4th point of the story, or the arc, which is the falling action. Show how some of the problems your characters are having had to or have had to deal with to get better. So, what's going on? How did they deal with the problem? For example, Catherine said, Ivan found this big talon, and he's figuring out finally that it's his great grandfather's,
lost talon.
Lost talent, yes. And finally, the fifth point of the arc is the resolution in your story. This is the end of the story. What has changed? What has your character learned? What did maybe Ivan learn something about his great grandfather? Have they changed?
These are really good ways to keep yourself organized to tell your story. So that's great advice.
And part 3 is write your story. Give details that help the reader understand where the story is taking place and what things look like and feel. Make sure your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Does your story have a problem, conflict, choice that needs to be made? How is this problem fixed? Share your story, most importantly, with your friends and family. Maybe they can offer you some feedbacks once it's done. So here's a template on the right when you go on our website you can find. So begin and have fun. But if you can't write, because I know some of our airport explorers, are just beginning to learn how to write, maybe draw a picture of your story. We're happy to take that. Catherine and I love all the work that gets sent.
I know, and I love it. And I like that feedback at the end where you say share it, because we want you to share it with us. And when you share it with us and you send it to us at traffic control at Airport Explorer Club, you can win a chance for some of those hats and t-shirts and puzzles that we told you about. And we also have a family pack of 4 tickets to the zoo as our prize today. And our grand prize would be some honey from our apiary. So Kathy, I'm going to do something in code for you and see if you know what I'm saying. That was Foxtrot Uniform November.
Fun.
Yep.
I had fun. That spells fun. That's amazing. Using the aviation alphabet.
I know, that's cool. So Airport Explorers and my friends at the Toronto Zoo, that's our camp for today. Thank you so much for joining us, our friends at the Toronto Zoo. We had a really, really good time today. And as Kathy was saying, we're going to take a break in September as our explorers get back to school. But please join us in October, because we're going to go to the zoo again, Kathy. We're going to go to the zoo again.
Yes, we are.
Yep. And if you sign up to become an official Airport Explorer at explorer.club, airportexplorer.club, we'll send you emails to remind you when our next camp is going, but all that information is on our website. So, okay, so that was a really fun camp today. Thanks again. And this is Catherine signing off. Over and out.
Airport Explorers. I'm so excited and looking forward to reading some of your amazing stories. See you back in October. This is Kathy signing off. Over and out.